Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Everybody in the room can too. Good. All right, we'll call the meeting to order. We do have confirmation of quorum.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, we have a expedited agenda. We're going to try to get through it quickly. I know we have a lot of material to cover, but we're still trying to be expedited anyway. So on agenda, we've got several action items, all under the consent. 10, and then we're going to go into informational items. We have about 12 of those. And then we're going to have a closed session. We'll come back and we'll reconvene open and then close out and make sure that I make my flight back. Okay, so let's jump right into public comment on items not posted on the agenda. This is the time for that. If you have public comment, please raise your hand or announce yourself and I'll recognize you for public comment. You see any hands raised? Okay, I don't see any hands raised. I am not hearing anything audibly, so we're going to go ahead and then move on and go right into our agenda, and that takes us to our action items on the consent calendar, and that is Holly.
Yes, it is. So yes, we do have a number. I'm going to try and be brief on each of these. Just as a reminder, the executive summary that is attached to the board packet has additional information. The first item is just approval of the minutes, review of action items. We did close several action items back in May. The remaining action items include our ongoing quarterly updates for fiscal and performance. Those are scheduled for August. And we have monthly performance metrics included as an appendix. We are proposing to close the current ongoing action items to reorganize for the new year. So we would be still providing quarterly updates for the financial staffing and performance metrics and provide monthly risk and performance updates, and that just consolidates those going forward. Action item 5 is related to analytics, and we'll cover that during the informational items. Action item 10A is a request to add the risks to the agenda. Those are as an appendix and also covered within the agenda. There were no significant updates to the other risks. We'll provide an update on auto exemptions for work requirements in the policy agenda item. Then we have an action item that's reassigned to me to bring the governance handbook back to the board for approval. That is due in September. Legal counsel is working through that as well with us. The next item is a new agreement with CBIZ, CPA, and Markham Technology. This is, so for background on this, we are required to conduct certain audits, SOC 2 and NIST, to comply with CMS conditions for enhanced funding. So San Bernardino, as our auditor controller, facilitated a procurement for these services. The selected auditor was CBIZ. This is actually the same auditor we've had for the past 5 years. Just the name is a little different. So they were the selected auditor. The contract is 5 years. It includes audits looking back to this past fiscal year to be followed by the current year and then the next 3.
Holly, was that previous name Eide Bailey?
Mayor Hoffman.
Okay.
Yeah, the Eide Bailey is our financial auditor. So this is a security audit. The total is $719,112 for the total contract value for the 5 years. That is funded through our OAPD. The next, I'll take the next 2 items together. They're both MOUs. One is with Equifax, one is with True. Both of these establish a cooperative agreement for CalSAWS to leverage a secured application program interface or API to transmit the necessary PII to facilitate the employment and income verification. Both MOUs govern the secure access, the use and protection of the data via that API. So both of those are essentially for the same, just one with Equifax, one with True. Okay, so then we'll move into the various change orders and work orders. For these remaining items, we actually have 17 different premise items that are addressed in different ways throughout each of these, so I won't go over all of them. Again, the full descriptions are provided in the executive summary that is attached to the board packet, but they're essentially related to HR1, FSED, state policy related items. So the first on this one is we're seeking board approval of the Gainwell Central Print change order. Several of the premise items, 6 premise items, require various notices and forms to be printed, and board approval of this will utilize 5.3 million of the change allowance, leaving 7.1 million for future changes on that one. The next one is the Gainwell Infrastructure Change Order 10 that will utilize 318,000 of the original 33.5 million change allowance. This one has 4 premise items and 10 county purchases. And premise items are ABOD, HR1, some CalFresh, the income verification, and some FSED. The change orders involve Calabria storage for contact center kiosks, purpose-built data sets, but most notably implementation of a contact center for Napa County.
Those are in the county purchase areas.
County purchases, and those are covered by county funding. The other is covered by premise funding. And the board approval of this change order will leave 20.2 million for future change orders. The next is Deloitte M&E change order 10. This utilizes 11.3 million of the original 60.8 million, and there's 7 premise items associated with this one. It also utilizes 385,000 for county purchases, and it will leave 6.5 million for future changes, and that's covered through premise funding as well as county funding. Deloitte Portal Mobile Work Order 24 is for 6 premise items, and that will utilize 1.8 million, leaving 10.4 million for future changes, covered by premise funding. The ClearBest work order 1 under the last amendment is for 2.8 million. There are 14 premise items on this one, and these are QA services associated with the M&E and infrastructure policy related items. This will leave 3.8 million for future work. Accenture Benefits Cal change order 1. This includes 2 premise items. This includes the release of information in HR1 Medi-Cal. That will leave 17 for 2 million, leaving 17.9 million for future work. And for all of these, the funds are covered by, again, premise county funding, or accounted for within the OAPDU, and all are accounted for JPA project budget. With that, I'll turn it back to you, Michael.
Thanks, Holly, for that read through. I got a few questions. I'll just go chronologically. So on the Gainwell Central Print changes, are all counties using that central print, or is it some subset of the counties using that at this point?
All counties are part of our central print solution.
So the change order is for different kind of scope or
premise,
expanded forms, things like that?
Yeah. So
related to premise.
Premise.
So premise driven?
So ABOD form, there's CalFresh notice of approval termination, ABOD, another ABOD with CalFresh impacts, monthly premiums for UIS. Example.
Okay. And so I noticed a lot of premise items in various buckets. They're either in with Gainwell, Deloitte, also established around central print, as you just highlighted. So when we get the premise items, are we trying to make sure that if they're related to the same area, that we're getting them in these same approvals? If there's not a sequencing, like if they're working on them in parallel?
We try to do that. It does not always work that way. QA sometimes follows behind. For example, it depends on how quickly we can get through the contract reviews. Sometimes too.
And then on the third to last item, Portal Mobile Corridor. What is Portal Mobile? I mean, what is this supposed to represent? What is it?
So that's the, that's benefits count.
Oh, it is. Okay, I
yeah.
was thinking Benefits Cal, but we didn't rebrand something.
No,
Okay.
no, we just always have referred to that contract in that way.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from our state partners or our board members on this premise slate?
I have a question, and I don't know if this is the right spot, and you can tell me or delay, or we can have a conversation after. But is there and I'm talking about like county purchases? Is there a process in place in which, let's say, Sacramento wanted to change our GA program, and it was going to cost us $50,000 or $500,000? Is there a method in place that other counties can see what changes we've requested, and those counties could opt to charge in with us? It was something I had asked a couple of years ago, and I don't recall ever getting a response back. And this change order just made me think about it.
Yeah, you know what? There's not a structured place for counties to see that. We can work on how we might be able to share that information more proactively. I know we do get GAGR county purchases in. Couple right now we've been talking with the counties on, and the team does go back and try and connect where we can on that, but we can work through that in the future.
It'd be nice if we could, because I think that, as we all know, how state budgets and all the other things that we deal with in counties, if we can split costs and help some of our smaller counties and maybe bigger counties absorb, or however we can help the collective, that'd be great if you could.
Yeah, and I think that fits into the premise items proposed, and sort of having a better understanding, especially around the county purchases. So, greater transparency, obviously helping counties across the board realize what others might be doing. I think that maybe we could have some kind of way for that to leverage a forum that maybe exists in terms of, it could be the PSC or it could be something else, but creating some visibility across county purchases is a very good idea. And I think that will help when we see county purchases on these, just like we did here, to be more informed coming in. So thank you. Very good ask. Any other comments or questions from our board members or our state partners? Okay, hearing none. Any public comment? Okay, hearing none. That was a big slate. Thank you, Holly, for going through it judiciously for us, and we're going to move on to our information line. Oh, I know I got to get my chi right today. I'm off.
Unmute.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the slate?
So moved.
Thank you, Ethan. I will second that, and then we can take it.
Okay, Robert,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Francina,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Veronica,
Yes.
Kristen,
Yes.
Rogelio,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes. So now we can move on to informational items. And the first one up is innovation introduction. This is exciting. We're trying to stay innovative all the time, but now formalizing that. So I'll turn it over to Holly.
So today we wanted to reintroduce the topic of innovation. You might recall that we had the innovation lab, we had innovation scope early on in CalSAWS, but we did suspend those efforts due to the extensive migration efforts at that time. Our new contracts pick these efforts back up now that we are post-transition. So this scope is for the review and research of ideas. It does not mean ideas get implemented, but it will enable ideas to be prioritized and analyzed based on county direction. So we are planning to host a series of deep dive sessions with county leadership in each region over the next few weeks to walk through our proposed process and the framework and get some feedback on the process, similar to, and those deep dive sessions would be similar to how we did the analytics sessions. We thought that worked well. And, we do anticipate some good, robust discussion about this new scope. So we think those sessions will accommodate that. So what you can expect to see is a proposed model after the Shark Tank process that we previously used, which was successful at that time. And again, it does include county input and decision points by a panel of designated county directors or appointees, which would form again an innovation panel. We will walk through the process timelines with you during those deep dive sessions, and you can provide feedback so that we can then finalize the process, report back to PSC and JPA for final direction and approval. And then just as a reminder too, our benefits CAL or public facing scope we have existing processes already established that account for those items. So should items have that public facing component, we would be channeling those ideas back through those processes. But we're excited to resume this scope of work. We're excited to share the process with you, get your feedback. It's been a while coming. And I have heard from several directors about, the need for and desire for more collaboration and more transparency and more input into the strategic planning items. So I think this will be a good key forum for those ideas. And then just before, I'll just leave it at that with, we'll have more questions, the questions and answers we can provide in the deep dive sessions, and looking forward to it. So back to you, Michael.
Okay.
Questions?
So the outreach you mentioned, it's a similar approach to what you did for analytics. In this one, I would like to make sure we're soliciting input on structure, the process aspect of it, even number of representatives, so we can gather back from the regions what their thoughts are on those things, and you guys could then come back and present to the board what the findings were. Yep. And see if the board wants to make any modifications to that before approving it. But I really like getting something going again like this. It's definitely the right time where we're really having to be responsive to a lot of things that would be innovative. So this is couldn't make me happier than to get innovation back at the forefront of the project. So accolades there to you guys for teeing that up, and just make sure it's a good collaborative process, and I think we'll be solid. So I'll turn it back over to any comments or questions from our board members or our state partners on this innovation reintroduction.
From the state, again, this is great. We are so keenly aware of the role of innovation, especially with all the changes in our work environment. We would definitely want to be in the collaborative spirit and be able to help join in this process.
Just as you guys are key partners in our governance, I would expect you guys to be partners in that process as well. So thank you for voicing that. Any other comments, questions from our board member state partners?
Michael, this is Roderick. I just want to say I think this is a great idea too, just to have some process to increase our nimbleness as an organization to respond to this continually evolving environment. And that I'm assuming that there'll be lots of questions from counties. And I just want to reiterate that the CalSAWS group is going to make that effort to really meet individually with the counties and in groups to really answer those questions and flesh the program out. So appreciate that, Holly.
Absolutely. That's a commitment going forward on everything that we're going to be embarking on. Particularly, this is right in front of us. So I'm excited. So I really want the counties and the regions to be sort of ready as they start to come to you with already prepping your questions, already starting to think about how this works, how it maybe worked in the past that you liked or didn't like, how we think we could do that going forward, so that we can collectively bring back and have their results shared with the board and meaningfully move it forward on a decision. I understand that it does have contractual legs to it this time around, and that's a good thing too. So that's good that we actually have that built into our vendors' contracts. So that's outstanding aspect as well. So public comment? Is there any public comment on this? Okay, hearing none, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next informational item and try to be as swift as possible as we keep going. Swift and thorough. We will not sacrifice being thorough. Workload management's up. Everybody loves this one.
Thank you, Michael. Jerry Nielsen, I am the application manager for CalSAWS. We're gonna go over a couple things with workload management redesign today. First, we'll recap how we got here and where we are going in the next couple months. And then secondly, we had a major release a couple months ago for the first part of functionality. And we'll be going over, we had a retrospective for this, kind of an analysis of what went right, what went well, what we're gonna change going forward, and we'll cover that as well. As a quick reminder, this effort started back in 2024 with analysis, research, and design, going through workshops, work groups, working with the regional managers, county site visits. Anyways, very thorough and very broad to identify what the requirements of this project would be. We took those requirements and then a year later in 2025 in the fall, went through the design effort, again, leveraging the work groups and the RMs to go through the designs for implementation of the function of the requirements. The first part of that implementation, which is the bulk of the changes, went in May, and we'll be talking about that very shortly. Upcoming and in progress right now is our September release with the remaining items that were identified in these requirements for this effort. Covering some additional management redesign, primarily on prioritization and the ability to determine how application or work is assigned to workers. Some new tasks settings for the tasks that go along with the appointments. And then some additional reports enhancements. And obviously we will be working in conjunction with the ongoing analytics effort to align those changes with where we're going in the future. And with that, I will hand it over to Dan Dean to begin covering the retrospective.
Excellent. Thank you. So my purpose is to set context for what a retro is, how it's applied to workload management. Retrospectives have been around for more than 20 years. They're a fairly standard process within the Agile methodology, which is time-bound and phased. They work well for phased projects where you take what you learn and apply it to the next phase to continue and to improve. We actually did those during CalWIN implementation support where we had 6 different waves. We've also done them on big efforts like the M&E transition as well as the infrastructure transition. While they're facilitated by QA, they include all parties from consortium to our delivery vendors to regional managers, bringing in the county perspective. In the case of workload management, we have a hypercare call with each of our general releases. We'll be doing one next week for 2607. In the context of 2605, those calls were extended from 3 days to 5 days because there was a lot of stuff to discuss. Typically, we have about a dozen items that pop up post general release where we're working through things, whether it's requirements, code, design, training, communications, edge cases. What are we experiencing in production that we can add to our test suite to do better the next time around? So in the case of workload management, it was about 24 things. There was a lot more items. So we certainly heard from the counties that there were a lot of things to discuss, and we wanted to take that input that happened within that week of hypercare and apply it a month later as a part of the retrospective. So we had 2 inputs from the county. The first was those hypercare calls, and the second was a retro meeting that we facilitated on July 7th. The purpose of these retros is to really shift from a mindset of blame towards curiosity. We have a mantra we read where we include everyone to participate, provide input. From those conversations, we had about 20 items that were things that were done very well. We had about 30 suggestions for improvement, which were grouped into about 9 to 10 different categories, and the top 4 are shown on this slide. So I'll turn it over to Jerry for the top 4. This isn't the all exhaustive list, but in brief highlights of where we intend to go.
Thanks, Dan. So we have 2 areas here, kind of what worked, which I'll cover, and then areas for improvement going forward. On the what works side, I think that the amount of attention, the work groups, through various steps involving OCM and training and all the county partners worked really well. That was kind of the foundation in being able to get this many changes designed, this many requirements validated, and to go forward, and was kind of the foundation for the rest of this year as far as, with that collaboration, communications were very important. They were in retrospective, looked at they were done pretty well as far as timeliness and thoroughness and what was going on. And then that leads into the county engagement. Being participants in this collaborative process, the counties were very interested in this, had multiple great questions coming into the sessions, which led to solidifying the requirements and designs going forward. Trainings and demonstrations, I think we added some additional to the standard process that helped with the amount of change that was going in here, but as we'll see in some of the improvement areas, this is also an improvement area. And then again, the post-release office hours, the hypercare. We had, in addition to the traditional hypercare, we also had a dedicated line, or I guess sessions daily for just workload management as well. So some of the areas in the improvement, I think the number one is what it really starts with, is the SCR size and complexity. This is overall more than 50 new pages or modification to pages. It was taking a look at something that had been working essentially this way since the application was created nearly a couple decades ago. So there were some fundamental changes that were being made in here. And so that complexity was there. The amount of change was very large. In looking at, kind of the outcomes of this first phase release, one of the recommendations is to, on these larger efforts, take a harder look on how we can better decompose and sequence these things in more digestible change chunks for both the project and for the counties going forward. Into that, we added, we'll talk about the OCM and training timing. On some of these large efforts, I think this one, we started a little bit later when we were starting to build, where we usually start with the OCM effort and the training. In looking at these large efforts, again, I think there needs to be more time spent on this. So looking at the timing, we're recommending starting those efforts earlier, aligning it more with requirements and design efforts earlier. Testing complexity and alignment to the requirements. So again, this is in these large efforts, having stuff broken down into more digestible chunks will help this. Also bringing the testing, call it scenario discovery, having it align more with the requirements effort and the build effort. So getting that stuff established earlier and validated will also give more time for us to execute those and make sure we have full coverage. And then the fourth item here, may be the last on this list, but it's certainly not the least important, it may be the most important, is the county's ability to handle change, and in particular, their business processes. Workload management is one of the fundamental processes in what the counties do each day. And so in these changes, it's something that's going to impact on a daily basis, and we need to be cognizant of the amount of change, and that the counties will be able to process that and continue on with their day-to-day business unimpeded or unaffected, or at least minimized effect at that. And so with that, I will hand it back to Michael for questions or comments.
Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate the presentation. This is one of our important cornerstones of advancing what CalSAWS has asked versus what we needed to do going forward. Task management has always been something that we haven't really harnessed effectively. I think workload management is definitely a step into structuring, putting these tasks to a very functional way for us to help manage our workload and help make the best of our staffing. Because right now, we have way more work than our staff can handle. So everything has to be very streamlined. So I really want us to keep diving in with the counties to make sure that the things we're implementing here are making the biggest difference as we're building this out, and to bring some concrete examples of where we're going to see certain things. And in future meetings, I think it benefit directors here. So
yeah, absolutely, and we're in agreement with that too. Those two go hand in hand, and we need to. That's the next area to look at.
I know my partner in LA County has a significant interest in this area. She may say a few things, but I'm going to open up to any of the directors or state partners for any comments or questions on the presentation here around workload management.
Hey, Michael, this is James Lickert with Region 5. I
Thanks,
just wanted to provide two quick comments. One, just to highlight one of the areas that you mapped out that did work well. And I totally agree that the engagement with the counties was, I think, a really great example of partnerships and collaborations and really helping design this huge effort here. So really appreciate the project's level of engagement and getting feedback directly from the line staff. I think it was very, very important. And I hope, and I know we've talked about this before, but that was really great, again, model of what we should be looking at with large projects or any project moving forward as well. So completely agree that that really was a great benefit in designing this. And then also to the challenge. And I was just looking back at my notes when we got the presentation on this back in May, and it is large. It is a very, very big project. We have not implemented in San Bernardino County, and totally agree that if we were able to kind of chunk these out and make it more digestible, I think that might have been a better approach. But just wanted to provide those two quick comments. Completely agree with the update here. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, James. Other questions, comments from our board members, state partners? Kristen, is this one that you have feedback for, or we can pick it up next time?
Nothing further from me.
Thank you. All right, then I'm going to go ahead and open up for public comment. Okay, hearing none, we're going to move on to our next item. Thank you very much for that presentation. That takes us to policy and release management. Is that right? Or did I turn the page too quickly? No, that's right. Policy and release management. And Sharon, Brees, and Roger are going to work on tee this one up.
Hey, good morning. For
There she
Medi-Cal, what I wanted to start out with is to go over the CMS interim final rule, or what we're calling IFR. And so in June, CMS released the interim final rule, and that was for work and community engagement requirements. So DHCS is in the process of assessing impacts to the current implementation that is scheduled for our 2609 release. In addition, what's occurring is DHCS, CWDA, CalSAWS, CalHERS Benefits Cal, we're all working together to assess the impacts of the IFR on CalSAWS, CalHERS, and Benefits Cal. And then what we're also doing is we have had, since throughout this year, a county work group. So we have a CalSAWS work requirements and community engagement county work group that has worked together to design the 2609 design for this. And what we are doing is, starting in August, we will be working with the county work group to go through the IFR changes. So another thing I wanted to touch on is that there was a request for executive level oversight in this IFR effort. And so what I wanted to do was go through some of the forums that DHCS and CalSAWS has to keep the counties and executives involved. And so the first one is for DHCS. DHCS has, throughout this journey, been holding HR1 Federal Medi-Cal Change County work groups, and that's a bi-weekly work group that convenes. And on 7/28, what DHCS will be doing is going through with the counties a walkthrough of the policies associated with the IFR. Other meetings include the CWDA RT. There's also a county director meeting that includes several county representatives, as well as Michelle Bass. There's also the self-sufficiency meetings. For CalSAWS, what we do have is, as I mentioned already, that we have the county work group for the work requirements and community engagement effort. And as well as during the Medi-Cal committee meetings, we do provide status to the counties on the progress. The other thing I just wanted to mention that I kind of missed is next week, DHCS, CalSOS, CalHERS Benefits Cal, and CWDA, we're getting together and we're going to be going through with DHCS a policy walkthrough of the updates. Next slide. As Holly had mentioned earlier, there was a request on work and community engagement exemptions and auto exemptions. And so this slide, I believe we presented before, but I wanted to go over it again. And so for the exemptions, there are different groupings of them. And so many of them come directly from the CalSAWS data collection that workers, enter. And so there's a whole list of those. There's another grouping, and these don't come out of data collection, but are like medical and hardships. And so, whether there's medical frailty, short-term hardships, drug and alcohol treatment. And then the last grouping are county-wide exemptions. For example, the high unemployment rate or federally declared emergency disaster. Okay, so all of these are the exemptions. And in addition, that, for example, if CalSOS doesn't pull from data collection an exemption, the worker also has in the work and community engagement screens the ability to select any of these, the data collection and these medical and hardship exemptions and associate it with the individual. And they also have the ability to select that it is verified. So all of these exemptions would occur similar to how eligibility is that CalHERS ultimately determines whether an exemption is met. And so, they'll run through the BRE or the business rules engine to make that determination. Similar, if something is declared an exemption or that is passed over to CalHERS, CalHERS will utilize that as the exemption is met. Next slide. This is just a summary of the risks associated for the Medi-Cal HR1, and there's really no change to this. Now I'll pass it over to Roger Perez to cover the CalFresh.
Thank you, Sharon. Roger Perez, CalSOS Release Manager Director. The next couple of slides cover our CalFresh policy and state budget roadmap. A lot of these items we've covered before, so in the interest of time, I'm going to be focusing on the changes that are coming up, as well as any significant updates since our last walkthrough of these slides. So starting with our July release, which is slated to go live this Monday, we have the implementation of the CalFresh SUA's eligibility notices in threshold languages, as well as the first phase of the True Consent Income Verification integration into Benefits Cal, and that information being passed over to CalSOS. As we look forward to August, we do have a fairly new policy enhancement. This is implementing the automation of the CDSS ABOT exemption file. This policy enhancement enables CalSOS to automatically process exemption data provided by CDSS, which is derived from comparing information across multiple statewide administrative data systems. And that intent here is to identify potential ABOT exemptions that are not already reflected in CalSOS, to proactively apply valid exemptions, reduce manual workload for our counties, and help prevent eligible CalFresh recipients from being incorrectly discontinued due to missing exemption information. In September, we have several other key efforts. Just to name a few, we have phase 1 of the integration of the work number service through Equifax for income and employment verification. We have the addition of an ABOD summary page that will serve as a central location for workers to view ABOD actions and outcomes regarding screening and qualifying work activities for non-exempt ABODs. Additional automated journal entries around ABOD related actions will also be implemented with the September release. And we also have the re-enablement of the PBS automation. Now, with this re-enablement, we're going to pilot it across 3 counties. Those counties are Sonoma, Santa Clara, and Riverside. We'll be monitoring their go live, monitoring stats, making sure that that is successful before we enable it for the rest of the counties. And lastly, in September, we also have the ABOD waiver update. Key changes here is for Alpine County is the only previous approved county that will transition off of the waiver. And we have Kings County, who is the new county that will be transitioning onto the waiver. If we can go to the next slide, please. On the next slide, we have future releases. These account for subsequent phases to the true functionality, from creating the ability to send text messages to recipients, to adding this functionality to the recertification, renewal, and report change process. We can go to the next slide. Next slide here is our 2607 release, baseline release, which again is slated to go live this Monday. The teams have successfully passed all testing dates, and we have approval for that go live. And as we heard Dan mention, the first 3 days of our go live week, so Monday through Wednesday, we will have post calls with our counties to talk about the release, any significant issues that may be experienced, and any feedback from the counties on how that release is going. So with that, I'll pass it back over to Michael.
Thank you very much for that thorough walkthrough. This is pretty serious and has all the counties really engaged in trying to address this. I do have a couple questions, but I can't help but start off with wondering, is that term, Sharon, you kind of made an acronym out of it, called it IFR. Is that actually a term? Interim final rule.
From CMS, yep.
It's not an oxymoron that just we made this up.
No,
Okay.
it is truly what CMS did release.
All right. Well, then it's
Truly government.
okay. I never felt more government than reading that. I thought I better ask.
Like interim
So-
statewide audit.
Yeah, so it's a little bittersweet. Dun-dun-dun. No. To kind of look at that it's final, but not. But it's interim. So we'll keep working towards that. The thing I wanted to ask in a more technical light on this was, I remember you saying that Cal HERS will be the determinant on the eligibility as it is for other things for exceptions. So as we're teasing out these exceptions, I know that they're still being defined, from a coding standpoint. CalSAWS is working on that. So how is Cal HERS going to have them? Because it's got to be automated. Everything that goes to Cal HERS is automated. So how are they planning to define the exceptions?
So CalSAWS and Cal HERS work together, as I mentioned, including DHCS and CWDA. And so whatever exemptions and how they're defined, and then how Cal HERS makes that determination, whether it's based upon what, CalSAWS passed over as verified and met, is a coordinated effort. So, it's just a coordinated, and we're consistent in our definitions, and how it's going to be processed.
Well, just from the Cal HERS side, again, from OTSI, again, working in collaboration with CalSAWS, Cal HERS, CalSAWS, OTSI, looking at the workflows and ensuring that we had that continuity between systems was something that we've been exploring the entire time that we've been exploring True with some of these other solutions.
Yeah, I know because there's challenges when we're looking at like time to actually code and get this stuff automated. So I suspect that CalHERS is also challenged in that same regard. But this has to be sort of like a flow. So we're really going to have to be very transparent about where we are as things are being implemented during that, and what burdens are put back on the workers to try to make interpretation. I just want us to be very eyes open on that, so as much as we can share that and make sure we're preparing properly.
Yeah, and Michael,
Yes.
that's why we do have that county work group. And so we do include the counties in the design, and we do bring up points and ask them, which option is the best. And so we go through that, and that's the benefit of having that work group.
Just another question that Brandon, you can probably respond to. So CalHERS is the state system. So the state is a strong partner with us on doing all of this. We have this communication going. CalHERS also relies on the federal hub. So these exceptions are not going to get criteria that then goes at the federal level, right? These are exceptions that CalHERS is able to write the logic for.
Correct. And yes, so in the
Because the federal hub goes for income and that kind of thing, but when we
Correct.
talk about some of these
some of these,
exceptions,
yes,
that's not gonna,
the exceptions are
at the state level, thank you, that's kind of, so we have at least some level of control on that part, okay. Good news. So, all right, then that's the end of my questions on this, so I wanted to open up for the other directors for our state sponsor, state partners to comment or ask any other questions on the presenters and the material presented. Thank you. Thorough job of presenting. Any public comment? Someone? Heather? There, I see the hand now. Heather.
Hi, Heather Willoughby from CCWRO. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Okay, so just a question on the previous slide. When it said that the CDSS CalFresh ABOT auto exemptions would be finished September 1, I was previously talking to a CBO that was helping somebody yesterday, and they mentioned that they didn't see the drop-down menu come down, but they thought that maybe their client was auto exempted because the system already knows that they have a child under 14. Is there do we know which ones are live right now and which ones are going to be coming as of September 1st? Because it sounded like some were already live and some aren't.
These are all live, Heather. So these are existing exemptions that reside in the system today. So CDSS is matching to the exemptions that we have within the CalSAW system. I think for the particular scenario, Heather, that maybe you've encountered there, if you can share some of that information with me, and then we can investigate to see what may be going on there.
Thanks, Roger. Yeah,
Okay,
we might
yeah.
need some more case-specific information to look that up, and we can do that as a follow-up.
Okay, she said that the client was still exempted, so she just thought that it auto exempted her. But yeah, I can follow up with you.
Yeah, so we can take that criteria and then and respond. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
You bet. All right. Any other public comment? Okay, thank you for that. And we'll move on to the next item, which is Benefits Cal.
Good morning. Frederick Gaines, Benefits Cal Director. We're just going to talk about some of the HR1 items that have been happening on the Benefits Cal side. What you see here in the first slide is the side-by-side of the SCRs, that the change orders that we've had for CalFresh is on the left and Medi-Cal is on the right. Some important things to see here. Our ABOT did go into the system in May, ready for the June 1 effective date, and then the true income verification. It will be going in this weekend, which is phase 1 through the Benefits Cal Flow application, flow only for the true data collection income. On the right side, you'll see a couple of items that have been released. And as Sharon also mentioned, you'll see the 2611, the work requirements. That one is tentative based on what comes out of the ruling and the discussions that happen. The next slide. This is just a linear timeline of those same items that were listed previously, with the caveats, a little bit of disclaimers on them. You can see those a little bit later. And then the next slide. We're just gonna talk about what functionalities came in with the ABOD time limits. With the new ABOD functionality, customers have the ability to request exemptions, and then it will generate the screening form that will then be sent over. And that is during the application process. And we also have, for any ABODs for active cases, they're able to also request exemptions through their process on their portal. Next slide. This is also showing you where the customers that are ABOD eligible, you will see on their dashboard when they come in how many months they've used and what's left over for them, as well as they will have helpful information and tips explaining to them what ABOD is as well. Next slide. This slide is on the True Income Verification tool. So these 3 slides here show you how the customer will consent to using the True tool. It is totally optional. They can always use at any point, click the add income manually, and they would add their income data collection as they would today. The next portion of this slide shows the summary of what they will see when they retrieve that information. They're able to pull over and review, preview, accept the information. If anything looks wrong, they can make adjustments, disagree with it, and they can always reject and back out and enter their income manually if they choose to. Next slide. And this is the Medi-Cal changes that will be coming up for the renewals to submit for individual persons, and then establish applicants to report Medi-Cal work requirements through the application and renewal processes. And then I think that's my last slide. One thing I did want to say for the income verification tool, we did have CITs going out with quick guides, job aids. We had webcasts for the counties. We presented our videos to our UCG monthly meeting for the advocates, and we also have a webcast plan for the larger audience of the CBOs and the sisters coming up in the next couple of weeks to really get the word out and instructions on the income verification tool. That's it.
Okay. Thank you, Fred. Quick question on, you mentioned, so if somebody put the income in inaccurately, they can go back in and change it. Is that during a window of time, or how's that work?
So they wouldn't put their income in inaccurately. If they pull down, when they get to review the pay stubs, if they disagree with what they're seeing, they can always reject that and then add their income in.
Oh, okay. So that's during the True or pulling it from the source, and then if they have a disagreement, they could actually counter that with a different number.
Right.
Not that they submitted it
Correct.
manually and then decided, oh, whoops, I forgot something.
Right. They have the ability to say that they disagree with it, and they can say what they disagree, and they can still submit it, and then they would go to the county to make the determination. Or if they disagree with it altogether, they can reject it and enter their income manually.
And if they did enter it manually and they did realize they made a mistake, they could do it again, or did they contact a worker to try to correct that?
If they've already submitted it, the application to the county, then it would need to be updated by the worker. If they haven't said submit, they could always go back and pick up.
As long as it's in drafts before it's transacted. Okay, that's my question. Want to open this up to other questions or comments from our board members or state partners on this presentation on Benefits Cal. Kristen.
Hi, Frederick. I have a question about the request for the exemption or request to verify that I'm meeting the work requirements on the ABOD slides a little bit earlier. What does the customer engagement look like after they've hit send on that response? Does it say the county is in the process of reviewing your exemption? What does that customer feedback look like, so that we don't have the situation where multiple requests are being sent because we haven't gotten to it yet? You know what I mean?
Do they get a receipt from when they submit?
Like confirmation that their submission was accepted.
they're getting a confirmation receipt that it's been sent.
Okay.
Thanks, Kristen. Good point. Any other comments or questions from our directors or our state partners? Okay, any public comment? Okay, we're going to move on to the next item, and that's foster care eligibility determination, or the FSED update. Another good acronym.
Good morning, Corey Morse, CalSOS Policy Design and Lead Business Analyst, heading up the FSED implementation. Just a couple of quick updates. We are in the middle of production simulation. It started on June 22nd. It was a little delayed, but we finally got there. We currently have 467 county staff that are onboarded. We completed a total of 7 sessions with those staff members to get them all updated into the system and accessed. We have a total of 88% of the AAP cases that are linked to the CARES cases. We have 91% of the KINGAP cases that are linked and 77% of the foster care cases. For those that are not aware of what ProdSim is, it is a test environment where we have copied production data into the system and linked those cases to the care system so counties can go in and they can test the functionality and really analyze their business practices for when we go live to see what needs to be updated. We have a couple of things that are coming up in ProdSim. We have a refresh that's going to be happening in August. The timelines and county communications are still being discussed and they will go out shortly. We're expecting a list of the CARES PPOCs that are leading the effort on the care side to share with the county's staff on our side so they can coordinate efforts. And also a recent ask from CARES is they're going to begin their instructor-led training starting next week. They've asked us for some assistance in doing that. And so we're going to be supporting them both systematically and functionally during that effort for ProdSim. And we can go to the next slide. Next up, we have a couple of risks that are open for FSED. Risk 324 is in regards to production simulation. That was opened because of the delay that happened. We're back on track. However, we're going to keep the risk open just to monitor any ongoing activities that happen in production simulation. We also have risk 334. This one is to kind of keep track of, we have suggested a enhancement in the way that the vendor is communicated to CalSOS through the care system. However, it's not going to be able to be done by version 1 in October, but we didn't want to lose track of that because we would like to streamline that process. So we're keeping this risk open until we can start addressing that issue. Next slide. We have a number of OCM activities that are in flight. We're currently providing monthly newsletters and bulletins, allowing county staff to get a peek inside FSED and the functionality that's happening. The bulletins go a little in depth. The newsletters are very high level. We have a series of system demonstrations. We completed the first series from April to May, and we started the second series now. Our next session is scheduled for July 22nd, and that is going to be on security and tasks. We are currently monitoring and looking at the job aids, making updates according to the new FSED functionality, as well as the WBTs and quick guides, and also developing new ones as we see fit. We've also provided a bunch of resource materials that are available in the communication portal, including a glossary of terms that FSED is going to deal with, as well as a data mapping sheet on where each of those data items that are coming in are going to land within the CalSOS system. Next week, we are expected to provide a readiness survey to the counties to kind of gauge their temperature on how they're feeling about their readiness. We're going to use the results of that to come back and discuss where we need to maybe beef up some of our resource information or demos to help the counties get a little bit more prepared. Next slide. We have some implementation support. We're currently in the pre-go live support system where we're providing those demos. We're having those weekly touch points for the production simulation with the counties. We have a plan for the go live support, adopting the readiness activities, validating critical scenarios for foster care, KINGAP, and AEP, and scheduled smoke testing with the care system. And we also have a commitment for counties for post-go live support. We have promised for at least 2 weeks of post-go live support. However, we are willing to communicate at that 2 weeks time to see if we need to extend that in any fashion. And next slide. Finally, we've been asked a lot about mitigation strategies, that if CARES is not ready to go, if we're not ready to go with FSED in time, what is the mitigation strategy? And the mitigation strategy is counties will continue to use the processes that are happening today. For a majority of the counties, that is the paper applications. However, there is a little element for LA County where they have current automation. And so we're currently working with the CARE system and LA County to discover if their system that they use today can be continued should we have any problems with go live. The current system, as you know, staff can enter the information manually into CalSAWS, and it'll stand that if you run EDBC or the last ran EDBC will continue to be provided to the customer ongoing. That is all I had, Michael, so I'm going to pass it back to you.
Any questions or comments from our board member state partners on this FSED update? Everybody, this is all hands on decks about what I could say. All right, any
I'll just speak, again, want to thank the CalSAWS team and the FSED project. Again, with the coordination with CARES and you know, the ability to be flexible as the development continues in CARES and the responsiveness, I really feel that, again, the communication has improved tremendously. I think we are on the same page, and it's reflected in these slides with both status and risk mitigations. So thank you.
Yeah, and I know that a lot of things have had to change throughout the whole process, and I still want to emphasize that, you know, LA County had certain setups there and had certain payment impacts in the first round, and I want to just keep a focus on if there are special things that we're having to do there, that they're getting the right testing and everything associated with them. Yes. Any other comments from our board member state partners? Any public comment? Okay, seeing none, we're going to go ahead and move on to our next item, which is data analytics. That's a favorite as well. I don't know if Marla's on the line, but I bet she's hearing it somewhere.
Actually met with them last week.
Oh, she's still around. She's gonna still be involved in this for us. So, all right. So let's jump in this.
Good morning. My name is Robert Lusk, Chief Information Officer at CalSAWS. Just to lay the foundation of why we're here at a very high level, we've got a structured reporting tool right now that has limited self-service functionality, and we want to be able to move to an analytics solution that allows more flexible and more relevant reports in a timely fashion when you all need them to support our populations. During this first year, the intent is to at least get the exact same reports or the same end state of those reports that we have, and then laying the foundation next year to have that more self-service functionality. So I'll turn it over to Rajesh for where we're at.
Thanks, Robert. Good morning, Rajesh Tahliani, CalSAWS Project Manager. Let's go to the next slide here. Okay. So overall, for phase one, we are continuing to be on track across infrastructure, analytics platform, and the OCM related activities. On the infrastructure front, most of the setup activities are behind us, with the exception of the Power BI licenses. We continue to collaborate with Gainwell in terms of what features we need to leverage on Power BI. We hope to have a handle on that in the next week or two. On the analytics platform, the intake module is nearly done, and we'll get more details on the next slide. We actually are getting ready for county preview. So Michael, one of the requests all along you had was, when will the county get to see the actual reports and dashboards? Well, it's coming. July 27th is we are starting the county preview on intake module, and we'll have 2 weeks. So we actually have almost 170 participants signed up for that. So we are really excited on that one. So that's the intake module. The next module, which is the continuing eligibility, we are roughly halfway through that, and we are starting some pre-work on the case characteristics. So overall, still tracking per plan, and activities are proceeding. I think real test for us, honestly, for I would like to see what the feedback we get from counties when we do the preview. And again, if changes come in, we are confident that we'll accommodate them, but this will be their first kind of hands-on, get a feel for what the dashboards and reports are looking like. Sandeep would say we're still working on some usability aspects. Those will come in later, but we'll have a slide to say what are the activities on the usability front, still work in progress. But nevertheless, very excited for that phase, which is a week from now. Let's go to the next slide. A bit more detail here, as I mentioned, intake is nearly complete with a little bit of testing remaining, and then the eligibility module is roughly 50%. Let's go to the next slide. So again, early on, one of the concerns was, will we get enough participation from counties? And the reason was, the counties tied with HR1, other policy and operational related activities. Well, I'm glad to report that consistently all our sessions, we had 100 plus participants. And this slide kind of shows the feedback we received on the intake module in terms of, the design documents we submitted. And clearly, we wanted them to focus more on are the calculations accurate? Are our business definitions accurate? And less so on the look and feel, because again, through county preview, they'll have multiple opportunities to, provide feedback on that. And honestly, some of the look and feel aspects can be changed easily. So that wasn't our focus when it comes to the feedback. So all in all, great feedback from counties on module 1. Let's go to the next slide here. So this goes back to a request, Michael, you had a while back. Can we get kind of a glimpse of what these dashboards look like? So this is an example of, periodic report monthly. At a glance, it will give you how many reports are outstanding, your timeliness, processing rates. One of the questions from yesterday's PSC was the drop downs, especially the district, is that a multi-select? Because you may have a supervisor who is kind of handling multiple districts. I was able to confirm, for the most part, the drop downs are multi-select unless there's a business reason to not to do that. So from a design point of view, that's been covered on most of the dashboards. And each of these, even the measures you see, they're all clicks. So you could go, down to a individual case level and figure out, where in the spectrum that case is sitting. Let's go to the next slide. This is another variation. This gives you pending applications, at a glance, some of the key metrics like how many pending applications county has, how many are overdue. You can quickly look at it. You can drill down. So this is another sample dashboard we wanted to kind of show here. Let's go to the next slide, please. So again, this risk I did touch upon. For now, no concerns. Again, it was early on to say, will we get enough participations from counties? Right now, no concern. Although some of the later modules, we will see, multiple activities in parallel. While we are wrapping up, design for one module, there may be a county preview for another module. So we'll have to keep an eye on it. But for now, I think, we'll monitor this risk, and it's actually low right now. Next slide. The only change here, and as Michael, you mentioned, now we have Marla, Contra Director as an executive sponsor. So the next steps for us is to meet with her and figure out how do we engage her effectively. So that's something we'll work on it in the next few weeks. But overall, we have the representation on all the different personas. So this is the last slide. And again, this was an action item, I believe, from Marla. And she wanted us to collaborate with CDSS. And we actually are having conversations with them. And we hope to schedule some sessions in, I would say, probably around August timeframe, and figure out, what can we build around CalFresh, especially around error rates. So that is something we'll work with them on, in the month of August or so. With that, Michael, back to you.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate that update. This one's going to be one that another one very similar to workload management, where it's long been a sort of Achilles heel. CalSAWS, LRS, C4, we've all done things. CalWin, we've all done things really well in the past, and then some things that have not been. Reporting has never been a strength of any of us, no matter how much we've had it. We've had to build them out separately. We've had to do a lot of different things. So we're really looking for this to give us a platform that we can build upon, but also things that are very tangible right here and now that directors can use to manage during this critical period. So I know you guys felt a little pressure around this, but that's why you get paid the big bucks. You guys got to come in here and help us figure this out.
No, I mean, kudos to both Sandeep and Robert. They constantly push us, and my fundamental belief is when the client pushes you or like wants to do more, it brings the best out of you. So we really are striving to put together a platform which the counties can use for a foreseeable future.
Well, Marla has agreed to be still connected with this, and I'm glad she is. And obviously, LA County is going to be immersed in this since we have so much data. I like the other, if we can have some more tangible progress type of things too, to keep on bringing forward so that the directors can feel that their staff are touching these things. I think that's going to be really important.
Sounds good.
Other board members or state partner comments or feedback or questions on what was presented? Hearing none, any public comment? Marla, are you out there? Okay, then we'll go ahead and move on to our next one. We got an infrastructure update. I won't say that's exciting to everyone because it's infrastructure, but I like it. We'll tackle that. That means Gamewell whenever we talk infrastructure, right?
It does. I think Robert's going to kick us off.
And
Robert.
And this is Robert Lusk. Again, talking about IAM, what is IAM? It's how do we verify who someone is and what they have access to? The reason we're here, for those that are new to this, is the current platform we had was going to do a major upgrade, so much so that we wanted to take a step back and make sure that we were setting ourselves up for the future. After that, we decided on a solution, and then we've been implementing the solution with the intent on having this be as seamless as possible to everyone. And then turn it over to Dawn for some of the details of where we are.
All right, so we can go to the next slide. This actually will be just a brief update. The important thing here to note is the timelines. We are dialing in on those timelines, which is what we talked about last time. At the time of creating the slide, the core CalSAWS was anticipated to do a cutover on December 21st. That date is still a bit under discussion, as we do need to work in between major releases in December. So we are probably looking at either the 14th or the 21st, but it will be one of those two dates. In November, just as a heads up, we will be doing some things behind the scenes. There should be no notice whatsoever if we do that correctly, but there will be some setup steps going on behind the scenes of production in November, getting ready for that cutover of core CalSAWS in December. And then Benefits Cal to follow on January 10th for the next and hopefully final piece of getting us to the new product. Once we're on the new product, though, as we've mentioned before, we do have some additional phases that will start to enhance functionality and improve items. But our first phase here is to move to the Okta platform. We can go to the next slide. I want to just remind you, we do have a risk open here on the right side of this slide, not any changes to those mitigation items. On the left side of the slide were things we're watching, of course, change management, non-technical items at the top. As a reminder, there will be delegated admin changes when we do the core CalSAWS cutover. So we will be having training sessions, webinars with all of the counties and their delegated admins. So what they do will not change, but how they do it in terms of the screens and the things that they need to do, we will be training them on that. And then, of course, we're working on creating awareness to know that these things are happening. Technically, the last time we talked, we had a workflow license item we were working through with Okta. That has been completed and is off the table. That's all been taken care of, and we have resolved that concern. And of course, testing remains as a watch item. We need to make sure that we test out successfully. And just as an update, our partners, M&E partner particularly, has an environment. They are accessing that and working with the Okta system at this point. And just to be sure that this was, that what we gave them was going to work. As you know, we do provide the GAGR correspondence service. So we went ahead and updated that, not in production, in test. And we made sure that, in fact, that particular module can accept both ping and Okta tokens successfully with the code that we plan to use. And that has tested out properly. So testing has begun on this item in full force in some areas, and we're working through it. Next slide. So we are going to make a bit of a change here in terms of topic areas. So now I want to talk about Highland. We haven't talked about this before, so this is the preview, the heads up to a project that is just starting. So right now you are on Highland Perceptive, which is the product name as they call it. We are moving to Highland Titan. This is a major upgrade. We do upgrades of Highland all the time. We badge it, upgrade it, etc. We're bringing it to this flight because this is a change in their product suite in terms of the way the GUI works. You will have your workflows, but the presentation to your staff is changing because it is a major upgrade. However, there are lots of good reasons to go here. One of the big ones is we will get access to some advanced features that we can't have in the version that we're on right now. And some of the suggestions and changes that the counties have made in this area, we need to have Highland Titan to make those go forward. So one of the big ones that comes in with this particular upgrade is that intelligent document processing. So lots of suggestions from counties about being able to better scrape those documents, better identify them, better queue them. That functionality becomes inherent to Titan. And while we will need to make changes in the application to make those things happen, the first step is to get this functionality available in Titan so that we can make use of it. So one of the big things and the big reasons we want to go here. We will also have some other functionality that comes with this. This is really the part of their product line they've been investing in. Better integrations. We'll have options for other workflows. Again, your existing workflows will still be there. And we will also have some increased flexibility in terms of being able to move a little faster and making some changes. So lots of good reasons to go here, but we do want to bring it to your attention because it is a major upgrade. This is not just a little version change. On the next slide, let's talk a little bit about what the timeline looks like. As you can see, the we are here being off of the timeline is not a mistake. We have not really started. We are in pre-planning right now. You can see we enter planning in the August timeframe, all the usual steps you would expect to see through development and testing and organizational change management. We are targeting a go live, which is what you all jumped to when this slide came up, of July of 2027. So we're about a year out, but again, we just want to start creating some awareness around this so that it doesn't come as a surprise to anyone. I don't have a slide on this, but I do want to, just because there's not a lot of changes, but I do want to remind everyone, Oracle at AWS that we've talked about just about every month here for a while. No major changes. It is on track. Everything is going correctly. But I do want to make sure that you remember that we are planning to go live with that in August. So just a quick reminder, it is tracking with the August release right now. Our M&E partner is doing all their development testing on the August release using Oracle at AWS. That has been going successfully, and the cutover will occur with the August release. So just a quick reminder on that. And with that, that was the last slide, Michael, so it's back to you.
Okay. All right. This is an area that I have, concern around because we have struggled in the past for performance. And tuning changed everything. I mean, it went from being non-performant completely to being, really fast and responsive. So with this, when you use that emphasis on major upgrade, I have concerns around stability and performance. So I really want to have some updates on mitigation on how we're going to be able to do that, because we had to do it after the fact. I mean, we had to operate after go live with Highland in the past, and You were here.
I
It was challenging.
I remember, and I do not plan for a repeat, and having the awareness has certainly made me sensitive to the situation.
Okay, and I know that we and in case anybody didn't grab that acronym of AIM is Identity Access Management, just in case you guys didn't know what it is, it's the core of the system and who can get in and where they can go in the system. But on that, we're changing platforms, we're changing vendors, we're changing that. Did we actually look at that for imaging as well and look at the other market players to see? Because now we're doing a huge upgrade, and that was part of what our reasoning was for changing identity access management. Is do we look at this to see who the players are and whether or not they're still the best for us?
We did do a market survey. We talked to at least 2 other major vendors. The cost and transition was much larger, and you didn't get a lot of features that weren't available in Titan. If you compare what you have today to some of those other vendors, it is true that there's a gap. But Titan, which we really do need to get moved to get those newer features, brings you in much closer to at par with the other vendors. So now what you're looking at is a large cost and transition. So we are recommending remaining with Highland and upgrading to Titan.
Okay. Maybe after the meeting, maybe you guys can provide me some of the background on that. I just want to make sure, because the brainware and everything had a lot of promise, and then it really wasn't doing what it was supposed to do. So Titan, I don't know what Titan is and what the promise is behind it, but I want to at least know what you guys have done in terms of digging into that. So thank you. I'm done with that. So I'm going to turn over any other questions, comments from our board members or our state partners.
This Ethan from Region 2. Is there a cost differential between Perceptive and Titan?
No, not to the consortium. So we pre-negotiated all of this as part of our procurement. We handle the procurement for the consortium on these types of software. Knew this was coming even when we came in. So when we renegotiated with Highland, we made sure that all of the Titan upgrade was included in the current contract.
Thanks, Ethan. Any other questions, comments from our member state partners?
Yeah, just one from the IAM replacement wave 3. Again, just for awareness, current plan CARES go live is the weekend of October 24th. Make sure from the FSED side that there's awareness of, I see a staging tools production shared services on October 24th. Make sure that we have no impacts.
The October date is really for the things like ServiceNow, so there should be no impact. Anything in terms of staging for core CalSAWS to go live, not listed there, but that's actually going to be November. So I believe we should be fine, but we will make sure we double check on that release schedule.
Okay. Any other comments, questions from our board member state partners? Okay, who thought infrastructure would be so interesting, but it is. Any public comment? Okay, we'll move along, and this is one that I think everybody has interest in too, is call center update.
And that is back to me. We have a.
You got all the good ones, huh?
Well, you didn't want me to be boring, did you? So call summarization. We got a couple topics to talk about here, actually. We have many things going on in the contact center area. The roadmap is actually fairly large. In the interest of time, we're going to highlight a couple of them today, and I may mention a couple of the other ones. Call summarization being the big one that you have all been on the road with us for a while now. As you know, we took a bit of a pause, did some re-engineering on the Fresno solution, went to pilot with Placer in April. And the really interesting item on this timeline, which is really here for you to take a look at your leisure, is that on July 10th, Orange and Contra Costa went live. So they have been live now for just a little over a week. We did spend Friday in both counties. My team was out there, as well as the consortium team. And Contra Costa, we were in there on Monday as well. I think perhaps the most telling item here is that both counties have sent us away and said that they've got it. So it is running at well for both of them at this point, and they are making significant use of it. They transitioned between the two counties right around 1,000 agents who are making use of it. So next up in a couple of weeks here, we've got 3 more counties, and then we just kind of keep rolling through. So out of the Orange and Contra Costa review, we did have 3 items that were what I call edge cases, very specific use cases that were related to them, but we did go ahead and make some changes in the solution to be able to handle those for them, because other counties may also find that those are useful. Those were actually identified on Friday, and we rolled them out that same weekend. So we are without any open issues from Contra Costa and Orange at this moment. If we go to the next slide, we can talk a little bit about the metrics. This is really Placer only because this was through July 3rd. But Placer from April 10th to July 3rd, 14,000 summaries were launched. They are averaging 4 seconds. With Orange and Contra Costa joining on those first couple of days that we've measured, or first week we've measured, the average is still at about 3.7 seconds. So the addition of those 2 counties did not change that generation time. And all of them are generating within 60 seconds. You can see the reduction in average after call work time, a little over 4%. Reduction in average handle time, about 5% in Placer, and 81% of the content is going unedited. There was some questions we had received previously about that's a real nice number for not editing, as compared to like if you're using a little transcript in some of these free call transcripts that run. Keep in mind, this is very specific to this application, and it's much different technology than what you might see if you just say, I would like a transcript run, right? So it is much more accurate than what you might be seeing when you're just doing call recording with Zoom. No offense to Zoom. And so next slide, if you would. Just again, this one, there isn't really a risk open on it, but I do want to remind you that the county readiness activities are here on the right side of this slide. Things you can be doing if your go live isn't up yet ahead of time, and we will work with you on all of those items if you need any assistance. We were watching, of course, county readiness. This will stay open throughout the whole time because we work with each one. And we do actually and have been updating all our materials, the product itself after every go live to make sure that we enhance it to the greatest degree. Technical concerns, the last time we talked, we had a couple of them that we were watching, successful completion of the pilot, which is now complete, and performance. Now we continue to watch performance after every go live, but all of our testing panned out well, so we are not making it an official watch item anymore. But we are not ignoring it. Every single go live, we're looking at it. Next slide, I am going to change topic on you to reporting replacement. So some of you would know this is the eGain replacement. Just wanted to give you an update on this because we have gone live. We went live June 12th, removing eGain from the solution. We actually moved this up in the roadmap. We had some other thoughts on the roadmap and decided we really needed to move this up because we were hearing a lot of concerns from our counties. You can see in those sort of boxes outside of the circle, many of those concerns we heard. Lag in the information being updated, inconsistencies in data because there's another party in the middle. You had to interface the data over to them. If AWS changed their schema, eGain might not change it as quickly. It was causing all sorts of data inconsistencies, lag in the updates, problems along the way. Reporting available to you all was only that data that was given to eGain, which was not the full data available from AWS Contact Center. And the dashboard delays were like over a minute to be able to get their dashboards to refresh. All of those concerns, which we heard in a large quantity, caused us to move this up in the roadmap. And what we have done by using now the AWS Data Lake, which we have implemented, we now get all the data that is available from Contact Center, not just what's pushed to eGain. We have implemented on top of that AWS Quick, which is a reporting tool that allows you to access all of that data and create your own reports. Dashboards are down to about 15 seconds for refresh. And there is only one source of truth on the data, which is the AWS data. So we have eliminated those data inconsistencies. We are working, since we just went live in June, we are having individual meetings with any counties that have questions or have any concerns about any of their reports that they wrote themselves. We do occasionally continue to get, concerns about anomalies or inconsistencies between the old eGain report and the new ones. We are looking at each of those individually and working with each individual county as they bring them forward. So far, all of them have been related to those prior problems with information lag or inconsistencies in the data with eGain, and the AWS data has been correct. But we will go through each and every one of those as you bring them forward to be sure. And I do have direct access to the AWS product team here. If we do find any that are in error, we will work directly to get them cleaned up. So those are a couple of the big ones that are going on. We have several others going on, call recording, that we're going to move into the native area, so your people don't have to go to two different tools. We're also looking at languages. The list is long of things we're looking at in this area and your requests in this area, and we continue to work with your staff to get those prioritized. But wanted to highlight a couple of them here. And with that, Michael, it is back to you.
Thank you for a very thorough update on it. Call centers are really, really important to us, especially in LA where we have over 3,000 agents on there. I'm really happy to see us continue to move forward. I know we've been pressing, even at the county level, Amazon quite a bit to try to step up in the space. I have some heartburn over the eGain thing because it was one of their recommended vendors, and in my conversations with them is that don't recommend somebody to us that can't handle the kind of solution we need. I don't want to repeat that ever again. And I feel a little bit perturbed by the fact that they're gaining from this because they're getting it as an in-house solution, but I just want what's best for our workers at this point. But still, I think partnerships coming under the big outfits like NFPS need to be pushed and questioned and prodded and really looked into before we on them in the future. I know we're excited about a lot of the new updates. Kristen's got her hand up, and I know that our folks use the reporting quite a bit, and probably a lot of the voices behind those issues that we were having on timing and data not syncing up. So I'll stop talking, and I see Kristen's hand. I'll go ahead and immediately go to Kristen.
Hi, Dawn. I have a quick question about it may be quick. The question about the methodology on sorry, hold on. Let me pull my slide back up. Can you share a little bit more about the methodology that feeds into how we are determining the percentage in time reductions for average handle times and after call work? And does that boil down to the individual worker that you are able to see, individual agent that you are able to see too? Can you just explain a little bit more about how that's all being determined?
Yeah, I can give you the high level answer. I can also get you in touch with people who actually have all the details technically as well, depending on how deep you want to go. But yeah, that average reduction is really looking at their, so we do have the ability to see it on every single call. That this is an average, obviously, over all of those calls that occurred in that time period for this particular county, which was Placer at the time. And that is compared against their prior call, previous to call summarization. That it really is sort of that simple at the high level. But if you want the details on how the calculations are actually done, I can absolutely get you in touch with the technical person who does that on my team.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yes, I would like to take you up on that offer.
All right, I will get them to set up a call with you.
And Dawn, that just brings to mind for me, average wait time has been one that we've struggled with. It's a basic need from a caller to know what the wait time is so they can make a determination whether it's worth sitting and waiting or calling back later. And we've been very inaccurate in being able to calculate that. It doesn't seem like rocket science to me to figure that out. So with this new reporting solution, has there been improvement in being able to do that and answer that very basic question that when I call, whatever average wait time it tells me, I will, can make a determination based off of that. Because I know we have different queues, So it'd be at where you are, I guess, in those queues, but.
So we are in extensive conversations, actually, Michael, with your staff on this particular item. The calculation itself at the time that the caller is informed of the wait time is actually relatively accurate. The problem is, as more and more calls or as agents perhaps go on break or as things change, if I was told I was going to get a call back in 2 hours, things change in that 2 hours. So the typical recommendation, and in all honesty, the way that we handle it in our own organizations, is there is a callback queue, and that callback queue doesn't vary because those people are really handling those callbacks. You have multiple languages, you have all sorts of concerns about doing that. So the typical answer here for this problem is difficult in your environment. So we have been spending a lot of time with your staff to try to work through what is the best way to get to what you're looking for.
Well, we're invested in it, so we'll be part of helping figure it out, but we've got to figure this out for everybody.
Michael, Don, can I add a little bit to that though? Because I have a question in that same space, but a little different. And I'm wanting to get more specific on the estimated wait times, not necessarily the call back, but like when you're in and you're waiting online, not online, excuse me, when you're waiting for the phone, it could say, your estimated wait time is 15 minutes, but then it's actually a significant amount more. So people will choose to wait, which is slightly different than the callback functionality.
They're different waits, yeah.
So, Kristen, what I might suggest is we have been working with the LA staff on this item. We've got some suggestions into them that are being considered. Why don't I just set up a meeting with you, Kristen, on both the question you had before, and we can kind of walk you through where we are on this particular item as well, and at least give you an update and get your feedback on it. Does that work?
Sure. Yes.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah,
I would like to be on that call as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there has to be ways to more accurately project this because we've got data, historical data that we might be able to utilize to anticipate callers getting agents leaving the line at some percentage and factoring that into what they have already from the real-time data. And so anyway, I'm not going to solution this because I'd probably get it wrong. So we'll go ahead and see if there's any other director questions or comments. I see Roderick's been waiting. Yes, Roderick.
Yeah, my question goes in a slightly different direction, but looking at the percentage of calls summarizations that are unedited at 81%, does the model continue to learn from the edited summaries to look at increasing that percentage, or are we thinking that about 80% is what we're going to get as an unedited summary?
So so just to be clear, it's not 80% of the summarizations that aren't edited. It's 80% of the content overall. So like so again, the agents do need to look at it. They are going to have to take a look and make sure, like, for example, maybe there was a piece of information that they really wanted in there that wasn't included. We templatize this so that it picks up this standard information each and every time. So they are editing a lot of them, but overall the content, they're accepting 81% of it without. Most of what they're doing is adding, or in a couple of cases, they're changing a word that it's not picking up correctly. But most of the time, it's actually an ad.
Got it.
So do we allow it to learn? We do not allow it to learn from this content that's coming in. But what we are doing is we are regularly refreshing the model to get a better version. We just refreshed for Fresno, actually, and we will continue to do that. It requires testing each and every time. And then, of course, as we get more data, the other thing we're doing is improving our prompting. So that is one of the bigger ways that we are actually going to be improving this product, is to improve the prompting. So all of those things, I think we can sneak this up a little farther. But your individual agents have particular things they want to include, and they are adding. The other benefit I didn't mention, just quickly to let you know, that we're hearing a lot is not from the direct agents themselves, but we're hearing a lot that the call log is more consistent when the next caseworker picks it up. More consistent and has, it's structured in a way that it's easier for them to flip through quickly. And that was a surprising piece of feedback we've gotten almost universally now, that that's actually a big advantage that the next caseworker working it is seeing.
Nice.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments by our board members, state partners?
I won't belabor this because I know Mike wants to get on a flight.
You said that more than once?
At some point today. But one of the things in Sacramento that we are trying to do is put on a public facing site that tells folks what our individual lobby wait times are. So if you live at one end of the county and the other end of the county just happens to have a lower wait time, you can drive. One of the things we're also trying to figure out is to put the phone data up to say like your average wait time. Is this a solution once we fix the average wait time that we will be able to pull real-time statistics for customers to be able to see so they can access us better?
You should be able to display the dashboards, of which wait time is one of those. And we can also work with you on what you're particularly looking for. But yes, you should be able to make that happen.
And Ethan, that's one of those where we talked about cross-county, exactly a goal we have in LA as well, is whatever medium you're coming through, being able to have, customer choice. Okay, do I want to call on the phone? Do I want to go to the office? I can see what the wait times in the offices are. I can see what the wait time on the phone is. But it's so inaccurate right now. It's we can't put it up. So we really got to get the accuracy down on these things. And I think both of those are in a CalSAWS capacity because we have lobby management also that's there. So a lot of potential here, and we're right on the same page. So. Okay. Any other comments, questions, board members? Okay. Any public comment? Heather Lynn?
Yeah, sorry, I got a new computer and it hasn't updated to be Heather CCWRO anymore. So anyways, hi, Heather from CCWRO. Just harkening back to that 81%. Is there any way that we can get some sort of functionality of understanding how much touch point the worker has with those summaries? Any sort of way to get that idea? Because I mean, 81% is pretty high of not changing anything. But I just don't know how good it is with the summaries, and so it just
we've additional context to what the percentage actually represents.
Right. Well, I know that they have like follow-up questions that they need to go through with the functionality of the interface, right? The worker will do the follow-up questions, but beyond the follow-up questions, how much do we know they're actually interacting with that summary?
So again, that number really is indicating how much they interact with the content of the summaries, right? So that again, they are editing the vast majority of them because this is just a tool. It's still the agent making sure that the summary they were presented is in fact the way the call went, right? So basically they complete the call. We then present them the summary of that call. So there's no really follow-up questions that are not a part of it. So the call is complete when the summary comes up, just to clarify.
So they just review what's
They just review what comes up on the screen. They make their edits and then they accept it after they've edited it. So it is still the agent's call summary. We're just providing them a draft to start from, right? The initial draft that they can begin with.
Okay, thank you.
Good clarification. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on to our next item, and I believe that is release of information.
Hello again, it's Frederick Gaines from Benefits Cal. We're going to start about the release of information. We're going to be swift but thorough, according to Mike. So, what the first slide that you see is our timeline. I won't go through the whole timeline here where we started from 2023. It's not me.
Down there.
Somebody has their.
I can hear it. Now I'm an expert at where's that. It's not on this one.
So yeah, so the timeline from 2023 to 2026. One thing to note here is that as of July, we do have the funding for ROI, so we are ready to move forward. The next slide. Previously, we have shown this slide in different venues a couple of times. So our 4-phased approach is what we previously put out there based on the ACLs that you see listed here at the top. So we promised this committee that we would take a look at what we stated before, look at where we are now and where we would like to go, as far as our timeline and phases and what we could do and what we feel like we can accomplish. Next slide. So in that analysis that we took, we found out that there are some dependencies across multiple systems, meaning that it's going to be a complete CalSAWS, benefits Cal, IAM, upgrade. Everything is going to be, all parts will be involved in this release of information. One of the things that we've done is that our next phase that we're going to talk about, that I'm going to turn it over to Jason, we moved from 18 months to a 12-month implementation period. No changes to requirements as previously scoped out. From 1A, removes phase 3 and move those items into 1B or 2, where appropriate activities for phase 1A and phase B will overlap. Activities, so it's not like we have to wait for one to finish before we start the other one. We'll be working all together. Both CalSAWS, benefits Cals must be live on the new IAM system, Octum, before we move, but we have that in our timeline as well. And then we've already started our planning for our CBO cleanup, which was part of our original phase 1A. And when I say cleanup, that's really just getting on the page of making sure that we are in alignment of how we naming convention for our CBOs, so that it will be easier for our customers to identify them when they go in to select them. And now I will turn it over to Jason Horton, and he will talk about our actual timeline.
Good morning, everyone. Jason Horton, Application Manager for Benefits Cal, taking over the Accenture team. I get to talk about the future. We have the new 3-phased approach, which, as you can see, there is no longer a phase 3. Everything from phase 3 moved into phase 1B or phase 2. And the way that we split that up essentially is phase 1B is going to be your main, Benefits Cal application flow release. And then phase 2 is some additional enhancements, mostly on the CalSAWS side, with a couple of add-on items that take both Benefits Cal and CalSAWS changes to implement. Phase 1A is going to be where we start, though, and that is where we're going to get some cleanup of the CBOs to make sure that we are deduplicating and getting all the information that we need, getting the appropriate structure to account for some of the information that is necessary for CBOs to manage their staff and see the information in the way that they want to. And then all of that can happen concurrently while we're doing some of the design work with the state and the advocate partners in design sessions with us for the phase 1B changes. So phase 1A and B can happen a little bit concurrently. If you see the legend, it's very small, but there are indications for each of the items within phase 1B and phase 2 that indicate where the change exists, because none of this can happen. Very little of this, I should say, can happen in a vacuum for Benefits Cal. There are changes that the core CalSAWS app will need to make updates for, as well as the IAM system with our infrastructure partners. So there's a lot of working together to put all of this into the system. Moving on to the next slide.
Can I give you go back? Just to make it easier for us and to be able to view and understand this. Your legend's great, but maybe instead of substituting those characters, you could use just like little colored dots or something. It'd be a lot easier than trying to find it in the text.
Yep, I will take that back. Okay, this is our high-level timeline. Each of the diamonds shows a milestone event where we need to make some changes. But essentially, we've already started this overall process. We need to get the CBO changes, the CBOs factored in so that we have deduplication and everything squared away for the new structure. We need to finalize the structure with work groups that are being created right now. The goal is to finalize all of that by start of September so that we can pass that on to our infrastructure team to implement that in a test IAM environment. Concurrently, while that's happening, we're turning on ROI and test environments to get a feel for where the system is currently at. There have been a lot of changes since the last time this was discussed for implementation in production. It's been, 3 years, 4 years almost. And we want to make sure that we understand what changes need to be made in each of the systems. As we go through the different phases, you'll see that 2703 is where that first release of phase 1B will actually go into the system in March. And then in May, we'll get that last update for mostly CalSAS changes with a couple of benefits Cal updates as well. And with that, I will turn it back to you, Michael.
I just wanted to say that before I turn it back, we will be engaging with all of our partners. So we will be talking to our state partners as well as CWDA. We will be convening the work groups, bringing those back together. We have a list of the county participants that were involved last time. And then we also will be engaging our CBOs and assisters population. So everybody will be involved in this entire process. So those meetings will be coming over the next couple of weeks.
I'm glad to see us start to have these target dates and start moving this. This is something that has been out there for a while, and it's good to get this thing landed. So real happy to see that. I know it's taken a lot of collaboration and really working through some really tough decision points to get here. So glad to see that project do that. Also, kudos on compressing the original time frame so that we can. I just want to keep an eye on that. If we have any options of continuing to compress time frame for this one, that we look at that and pursue it, even inside the windows you guys have given. Okay, so comments, questions from our board members, state partners on ROI.
Thank you, Michael. I was going to say the same thing. 3 or 4 years ago, I don't think any of us in this room contemplated HR1, nor do I think any of us would have said that everybody in the community wanted to help everybody that receives public assistance. So anywhere in here that we can compress, especially coming into the biggest change of Medi-Cal work requirements really taking effect, March, April. Everybody in the community wants to help, and we can't talk to anybody generally. So anywhere you guys can compress, please take that as some feedback. But I'm also going to say, great work getting it to 12 months from 18. I know how hard it is to get in compressed timeframes, so I appreciate the work efforts that you guys have done.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions from our board members, state partners? Okay, any public comment? Saw a few thumbs up. Jen Tracy?
Hi, everyone. First, thank you so much for all the effort to try to compress the timeline. I'm really excited to see that it's just a little shorter than 12 months. I know that one thing we'd ask for, just also speaking to the comments about Medi-Cal and the concerns that we have there, if there was any way to front load just like the one functionality of being able for CBOs to see the renewal date, that would really help them be able to proactively engage with their customers to be able to support them on those renewals. So I don't know how all this works. Definitely not a tech person, ironically. But if there was a way to just get that one piece of the functionality available closer to the start of the year, I know that's something that the advocate community has been talking about quite a bit.
And Jen, thanks for that point. I think we're all acutely aware of the renewal date as being a really hugely important thing. So, the project will look at that and see if there's any way that can actually. There's some interconnectivity, but the project to go ahead and look back at that and see if there's any way to free that up. I know it's in all of our interest, as you mentioned, to partners as best we can, and we are tied to those renewal dates. So, thank you. Great suggestion. We'll take it back. Any other public comment? Okay, then we'll move on to the last item before we go to a closed session, and I believe that's our CalSAS conference debrief. And for those of you who joined us at the CalSAS conference, I thought it was a great conference, great atmosphere, great location, and a lot of good dialogue during the conference. So I'm going to turn that over to Holly.
Thank you, Michael, and Wendy will assist as well, and we'll keep it brief. We do appreciate the great turnout that we had. We did get some really positive feedback. We also got some welcome suggestions for improvements, and Wendy's going to just real quick highlight a few.
All right, thank you, everyone. I'm Wendy Batterman. I'm the Executive Director for ClearBest QA, and I'm helping with the conference planning and execution. So just really quickly on this slide, the what worked, the overall experience. On average, this was looking at, was it well organized? Did you have enough free time? Were the sessions balanced? And was the overall experience valuable to you? It came in at an average of like 4.6 out of a total score of 5, which is actually improvement from last year, which was 4.1. So we did take your comments. We're trying to build it in. We're always trying to improve, and maybe eventually we'll get to a 5.0. Anyway, go to the next slide. So some of the favorite things that were from the conference, we have several comments about location, venue, and the theme. We also heard a lot about hearing about the AI and innovations that were coming, such as like call summarization, the contact center innovations as well, and customer 360. Also, a lot of comments about hearing from other counties, not just on HR1, but on other topics as well. A lot of people really enjoyed the networking in person, being able to see and talk to other counties about topics. There were a lot of, kudos to the FSED session, the customer success stories, and there was also a lot of mention about the food being really enjoyed. Go to the next slide. So for how we can improve for next time, we went from nothing, which was very welcomed, to being able, one of the big things, we know that our presenters had so much to say right up front. So, and several times they were running out of time for Q&A. So we will make sure that we're adjusting time to allow for that Q&A. People also are asking for more time for networking. So everything from a short networking session to also having organized events. So we're taking that feedback and to see what can be done there. Also looking at the next location to make sure it has more walkability to coffee and breakfast and other conveniences around as well. Fairmont was beautiful, but you had to walk downhill and back uphill to do that. And then finally, the diversity of the stories that we had at the end of the session. If we do highlight county success stories again, we will definitely encourage a greater diversity of stories to reflect all of California. So back to you, Holly, for next steps. Thank you. And yes, we also heard the feedback on the breakfast that we used a little more protein there.
A little too continental.
So, where do we go from here? So following this meeting today, we are going to launch a survey that'll go out to all the county directors or PSC members. We're going to ask you if first you would be more likely to attend a member representative meeting if it were virtual and separate from the annual conference. So remember, that's the portion that was the Friday morning. And just as a reminder, we had a very, very close call on quorum. So I encourage you to think about response there. So we're also going to be asking if you want to proceed with an annual conference. Is that something you want us to continue with? Or maybe it's every other year. So we'll ask you about the frequency. We do know there are travel constraints and it's more and more challenging for you to take time off, take time away from the office. We'll also ask you about if there's a preferred month if you do want to move forward. We're also going to ask you if you prefer to instead or in addition to move to a scaled down type of session for just PSC and JPA to focus on strategic planning, talking through establishing goals and objectives. Something we've done in the past, the WCS days, our former C4 days, we did a lot of that as well. So maybe that's something in lieu of, or maybe it's in addition to. So we want to hear from you on that. So please definitely take a look at that. We'll give you a couple weeks to respond. We'll bring the results back to this group for next steps. With that, back to you, Michael.
Okay. Any comments or questions from our board members, state partners on the presentation recapping the CalSAWS conference this year? I'd just like to say great job. Great job, Jen. Great job, Holly. I know that you guys prepared brunt of the load, and also Wendy and the folks who really do a lot of the legwork. We just show up to the conference. There's a lot of people that do other things than just show up to the conference. But our goals are to increase membership. Attendance, increase that, and also make sure the effectiveness is meeting the needs. And that's why we're going to do this sort of survey so we can see how to pursue it going forward, because it's doing the same thing over and over and over again is not always the best strategy. We want to check with you and see if there's a time to pivot to a different model. And we appreciate your feedback. So any comments, questions? That was my comment and question from our board member state partners. Not hearing any public comment?
Hi, this is Jen from the Advocates Group. I just also wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to participate. And I know sometimes in these meetings, we bring a lot of our comments and concerns, and it's always nice that we feel so welcome there. And it's nice to see so many of you in person. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And it's great to have our advocate partners there in the room with us. Thank you so much for your attendance and your colleagues. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and go into closed session now, and pause the open session, and we will come back and close it out after. Closed session is on public employment related to the new executive. Thank you.
Jeff, if you can go ahead and advance to slide 71. Thank you. Everybody, we'll get started in just a minute. Thanks.
Go last. All right. We had on Michael. Can you guys hear me? Are we live? All right. So this resumption, reconvening of the open session, and the report out for the closed session was no reportable action taken. So that concludes our meeting. Meeting adjourned. Thank you so much for spending time with us on Friday. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.